What's going on, Washington fans? Welcome to the JTFB channel where I talk all things Washington Commanders, and I'm doing the second video for my free agency targets for the offseason as free agency is coming very quickly. And we actually heard today the official salary cap numbers, which went up and gives Washington a little bit more spending money. Some people think it's a bad thing just because now other teams have more money to keep guys, get some other players, whatever. But I truly think that this is a position where Washington is in a great place where players want to come here and play. So now Washington officially has $75.2 million, and where that number comes from is after what the projected amount is for the incoming draft class. So this is strictly what Washington has to spend, 75.2. I think it's like high 80s or whatever if you don't count what the draft class is going to get. But 75.2 gives you a good idea of what Washington is allowed to spend in free agency. So I already did a video kind of giving you a broad overview of the free agency, a couple targets I'm looking at. But then the last video, go check it out after this one where I looked through the edge class for free agency. Just kind of went through Washington's situation and my more likely options in free agency for that edge class, with a lot of guys probably getting a tag here soon. The window is opened up. So on this episode, like I said, I'm gonna go through the offensive line, which offensive line's bad. It's a pretty big need. Obviously, there's about 4 needs out of 5 guys, which is not ideal. So I'm gonna go through it. I'm gonna try to not make this the longest video ever. I'm gonna try to keep this at a good rate for y'all. But as always, hit that subscribe button and like if you enjoy what you see. Like I said, I got some big things cooking up. After this video, I'll be doing a live mock draft on Sunday night here on the channel. So hit that notification button on that as well, and you'll get notified when I go live. So you can come in on Sunday night. And then Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern time, I'll be going live on Bleacher Report, talking about top draft prospects. So I'm going to start, doing my free agency stuff right now. And then I'm going to start blending in the draft here soon, doing a lot of videos coming up. So stay tuned. Like I said, guys, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the action. And always like and drop your comments below. I try to get to all of them and reply to all of them, which is kind of hard, but I do read all of them, I promise. And I love what y'all have to say. So like I did with the last video, let's go over real quick Washington's current situation on the offensive line. And like I said, it's a doozy. It's ugly. No matter how you color it, it's ugly. So left tackle, Charles Leno, of course. Then we had Braden Daniels, who we didn't really see much at all of. Then left guard, Sadiq Charles, who is a free agent. Once again, didn't really see much of him either. Chris Paul, who just flat out wasn't good. And then we just re-signed my guy, Mason Brooks. Super excited for Mason. I think Mason has really high upside, actually. I'm not saying he's going to be a starter next year, but I like him as a depth piece for now. Like I liked what I saw on tape. I think Mason has some good things to his game. I don't think people realize that Mason's got some game to him. So I like that we signed him. The more help, the better. Now, this is the worst position on the entire team here, and that's the center spot. Tyler Larson is a free agent, and he was not good. And then Nick Gates was the worst free agent signing last offseason. Got benched, halfway through the season, whatever, after 7 games, I want to say it was. Just as bad as it gets. Ran his mouth more than he did blocking at anything. Nick Gates was horrendous. So the only good player we have on our line coming back is Sam Cosmi, right guard, who is a top 8. I want to say he finished 7th or 8th in the NFL as a guard, not just right guard, but just guard, period. Sam Cosmi is that foundational piece that you build around. Then you have Ricky Stromberg. So he was a rookie last year, and he was projected to be a center. The talk, through training camp and everything was he's not ready to be a center. He's going to be a guard. So he played a little bit of left guard. They have him at right guard right now on the depth chart. Nonetheless, I don't know if you can just sit here and say, hey, he's good enough to be the center, starting center next year or starting left guard next year. I'm not ready to say that yet because I haven't seen it. And I don't think that in the position Washington is in with the salary cap that we have, but then also with the draft capital we have, I don't think we're in a good position to say, Ricky Stromberg, give him a chance to start. You kind of have to exhaust all options. But then you have Andrew Wiley, who was really bad last year too, signed over from Kansas City at right tackle. And I'm going to talk about him I'm going to talk about Charles Leno. I'm going to talk about Nick Gates here in a second, contract-wise. And then you have Cornelius Lucas, who is a free agent. Played a little bit of left tackle for Charles Leno when he missed that one game. Did he miss one or did he miss two? I think he missed one. But he played that one game and actually looked pretty good. But he's a free agent as well. So there's holes all over the place. Either your starter is really bad or your starter is a free agent and the depth is bad. And regardless, they weren't good enough to keep. So let's take a look at this. And like I said, I'm going to go over this contract stuff real quick because a lot of people asked me the last few days, Josh, what do you think about this? Do you think Washington could keep Charles Leno? So Charles Leno, 32, he'll be 33 when the season starts. He's reliable as in like he doesn't miss a lot of games, which is great. The best, ability is availability. But what does that number look like? So the cap hit next year is 15.53, which is a lot. Dead cap would be 8.25 if you just straight cut them. But if you look at the numbers more closely here, I'll try to zoom in for y'all. A pre-6-1 release turns out to be, like I said, 8.25 dead cap for 2024, but you do save $7.2 million for 2024. This is where things usually change a drastic amount post 6-1 release, kind of like what we did with Chase Roulier last year. The dead cap for 2024 is 3.75 mil, pushes 4.5 mil out to 2025. Then you save almost 12 mil. And then same with the trade, which I don't think that would happen. So is it worth it? Maybe. But my thing is, I don't think Charles Leno was like one of the worst tackles in the NFL like a lot of people do. I think he had some bad moments, sure. Like I said, he's not getting any younger, but you have to have a plan in place. If you plan on just releasing Charles Leno, and I don't want to hear, we're going to re-sign Cornelius Lucas and he's the replacement. Like, no. You have to have some kind of plan ready, whether it's a free agent or whether you believe that first, second round pick you have is going to, be a quality starter left tackle. And I think there could be one, whether it's Patrick Paul, whether it's Jordan Morgan. I don't see Fatanu fall into the second round. There's going to be a lot of offensive linemen taken in the first round, but it's such a good draft that you're going to have some talent in the second. So maybe it's there. But honestly, like my thought is, I think they keep him. Would it be nice to save 7.2 mil? Would it be nice to save 11.7 mil post 6-1? Yeah. But especially with this bump in the salary cap, I don't know if it's good enough to just cut Charles Leno. I'm going to talk about some other positions. I think a guy like Logan Thomas is gone. That saves you a big chunk there. So I think you have the money to keep Charles Leno. But I just don't know what that replacement plan looks like to just say like, hey, we're just going to cut him or whatever. Like you have to have somebody ready to go. And like I said, maybe we will, but then you're kind of with the argument, if you pay him 15.5 mil next year to be a backup and, after you draft somebody, that's kind of ridiculous. I get it. So I can see both sides of the argument. I definitely understand there's people that say, I want him gone, whatever. So let's look at Andrew Wiley next. I'm going to talk about Andrew Wiley because I think that he's a guy I would really like to see move back to guard. I think that left guard spot could be big for him. He's probably going to be close to 30 when the season starts. But once again, there's a possible out in 2025. So maybe you roll with him one more year. The savings just really doesn't wow you. So if you cut them pre 6-1, you're eating 7.8 mil in dead cap. You're only saving 1.5. And then same with post 6-1 release, because I don't think anyone would trade for him. Post 6-1 release, you're saving 4.2 mil in 2024. Is that really worth it? No. Like in my honest opinion, it's not worth it. You still eat 5.1 mil dead cap for this year and then 2.6 next year. It's just not worth it. Just move him back to guard, or he'll be, if you get somebody to replace him at right tackle. Like I said, I'm going to look at some free agents here in a second. Don't worry. then maybe he's just a backup piece, like a more of an insurance guy, whatever. That's fine. It's just not worth it saving 1.5 mil pre 6-1 or 4.2 mil post 6-1. It just doesn't make sense to me. Just roll with him one more year. You have your out next year, as it shows here. You're only eating 2.6 dead cap, and you're saving a lot of money next year. That's your possible out. You wait till 2025, boom, cap savings 7.75, regardless of when you get rid of them and how you do it. So that's my thought. Keep Wiley one more year. And then last but not least, definitely, well, it is least, Nick Gates. I hate to say it, but he was just that bad. Nick Gates was one of the more frustrating players on the team to watch. It was just bad, all around bad. I know he's only 28 years old. Potential out is preferable for 2025. Maybe he's your backup center next year. Once again, I don't like it. Like I don't have a reason for him to be on the team. It's 2025. Let's look for this season. Once again, if you release him pre 6-1, you're eating about 5.5 mil, pretty close to 5.5 mil. Now, post 6-1, you're only saving 1.5 mil. It's really not much of a difference. You're not eating much, but you're also not saving much. So having that experience, if you do, draft a rookie center, I'm going to give my thoughts on that too. Like my preference with that position. Maybe it's worth you just keep him as a backup piece. Once again, insurance like Andrew Wiley, but at the same time, I don't like it. I think I could see the argument with Leno, but you have to have a plan in place to replace Charles Leno. Andrew Wiley, kick him out to guard, let him be a backup option for right tackle, just like Lucas, could be for both sides as well, left tackle or right tackle. And then Gates, like whatever. Like if we cut him, and like understandable, like I think he should be cut. It doesn't save you anything, and you really don't need much. Doesn't make a difference. Nonetheless, maybe he's just a backup piece. But like I said, honestly, I think Mason Brooks would be better than Nick Gates at left guard. Nick Gates was awful. All right, so that's the contracts we have now. The free agents. The holes we have on the offensive line, which is all of them except the right guard. Now let's take a look at the free agents on PFF, and I'm going to start with tackles. Because like I said, you have to have a plan in place for Charles Leno. And maybe you're looking for that right tackle guy. Now, let's look at Tyron Smith, 33 years old. Yes, he's old. He's really good when he's healthy, but that's the thing. He's not healthy much. Would he follow Dan Quinn to Washington? I don't see it. The talks have been that Smith wants to stay with the Cowboys and kind of just finish out there. Probably going to get a 1-year, $10 million contract for Dallas and stay there one more year and then retire. That's my prediction. He stays in Dallas. Trent Brown, left tackle for New England, 30, going to be probably about 31 when the season starts. 2-year projected 7.5 mil. Not the most impressive guy on my list. They have him ranked 22. As you see down there, he's had clauses in his contracts rewarding him for keeping his weight down. So a couple issues there, but at the same time, he was really good last year. Fits a gap-heavy offensive scheme, which I think would fit what Washington does. And he's just a big dude, like it says down there once again. Stonewalls defenders and pass protection. Is comfortable playing on either bookend of the line of scrimmage, so he can play left tackle, right tackle, which helps you out a lot. So maybe it's worth it that he could play left tackle or right tackle. Then you see how the draft goes. Then you figure out the line. Say, hey, we drafted a left tackle. Let's put you on the right tackle. 2 years, 7.5 mil average per year. That's fine with me. He was the 11th highest graded tackle last year. He only played 579 snaps, though, so he must have had some injuries or something. He had to have something. Let's see. He only had 2 penalties, only allowed 3 sacks, played all left tackle. He just missed some games probably because he didn't have a lot of snaps, like almost 600. So he must have missed some games. But nonetheless a viable option, not the sexiest option. Um, Mike Nwanu is a guy that I saw some people talking about today as well, saying like he's probably projected more to play right guard. He's played right guard, he's played right tackle. Um, I was impressed by him this last season, just going back and looking at the tapes. The Patriots actually had a decent offensive line. They just have no quarterback. But still, young dude, 26 years old when the season starts, 4 year, 14.5 mil a year projection. But a lot of people think that he's going to be best suited as a right guard. That's probably how he's going to lean his free agency. So that's something I'll talk about a couple times too. Is there's some good guards in free agency, but a lot of them are right guards. Like, do you think they would want to come here to switch to left guard after having a really good right guard season? Probably not. I think Mike fits under that mold as I think he's going to want to go back to right guard, but if you have to play him at right tackle, I'm super impressed with him. Super impressed by like how fast he got off the line, how good he did in space. Um, Once again, it's not a bad contract at all for a guy that has that flexibility and had a really good season. And he's still super young. Mekhi Becton, I don't want anything to do with him, honestly. Mekhi Becton's been a huge letdown since he came in the league. Still young. It feels like he's been here forever, and he's only almost 25, which is crazy. Big letdown. Now, Jonah Williams is a guy that people have talked about a lot. Like, Josh, do you think you'd want him? First off, he went to Alabama, so part of me wants to say yes. But at the same time, I've seen some bad Jonah Williams, man. So down there it says Williams requested a trade this past offseason after the Bengals signed free agent Orlando Brown to take over the left side, but he eventually rescinded his request and got back to work to mastering his craft at right tackle, where he hadn't started since his undergrad days in college at Alabama. Roll Tide. The former first-round pick has always been an above-average pass protector and has stayed healthy throughout 2023. While Williams may not have the ceiling perceived coming out of college, which was really high, a high-floor pass blocking with a strong pedigree should do fairly well in unrestricted free agency. A league-wide scarcity of solid tackle play. So, once again, he's only 26 years old. If Jonah Williams ends up being the guy that and honestly, it could be the fact of, look, 4 years, 15 mil per year. That's what you're going to pay Charles Leno. Do you go younger for a 26-year-old Jonah Williams? Say, hey, we know you want to play left tackle. We have an opportunity for you here. You can play left tackle. I think Jonah Williams is an option. Like I said, still super young, and pretty much what they said, like, had that high floor. You kind of just know what you're getting. Like, it's one of those things where you can just kind of put him there and not really worry about it. Is he gonna be like Tristan Wirfs or Rashawn Slater or something like that? No, but at the same time, you're getting out of the Charles Leno contract, kind of bringing in a younger guy in Jonah Williams, and it's just good. He's there. You're fine. You have the money for it. Like, cool. We need a left tackle. Jonah Williams wants to move back to left tackle. We have a spot for him. It kind of just works out. It's just like a good situation on both sides. Like I said, do you feel confident that that left tackle of the future can be there in the draft when you're picking in the second round? If not, you're kind of banking on it. And once again, if you have to play Jonah at right tackle, then so be it. Would he be happy about it? You know, he wasn't the happiest because of what the Bengals did. Once again, getting Orlando Brown Jr. there. But at the same time, he said, whatever, put up, shut up, played right tackle, and did decent. But once again, he hasn't played right tackle since his undergrad days at Alabama. So it's been a long time. I think ideally he wants to be a left tackle. Is there some right tackle options in that, high second? Maybe not. I'm going to go through the draft, guy. People, don't worry. We've got time for the draft. It's coming up next. But once again, free agency comes first. And you kind of want to get that foundation and kind of have this sturdiness to your roster going into the draft. So you're not saying, okay, this is what we need. We have to draft this guy. We have to draft this position. Instead of just drafting the best players that are going to make an impact on their team. So that being said, I'm fine with signing a left tackle and saying, look, We don't have to take one in the second round. Now we can get a wide receiver. We can get the top linebacker in the draft. We can get a Cam Kinchins. Or we can get an interior guy. We can get a center, Zach Frazier, Powers Johnson, whoever you think could be there in that second round, corner, like whatever. It gives you flexibility to say, like, who's the best player on the board? Ja'Tavion Sanders, whatever. For your new quarterback, by the way. Wink, wink. Second pick. We're not trading back with the Falcons. So that's my case for signing a left tackle like Jonah Williams. I know it's kind of long, but I think it's very important because the free agency sets you up to where you're not just saying, "Oh my God, we're desperate. We still don't have a starter at left guard. We got to draft one. We got to draft one. Or we don't have a left tackle. We got to draft one." That's not what you want to do rolling into the draft. I'm trying to look at some more options. There really wasn't any others that really, Donovan Smith. No, it's just Cam Fleming. It's just tackle wise, like my last guy on my list was Jonah Williams for both spots. So Jonah Williams, Mike Onwenu, maybe if he wants to stay at right tackle, I could see it. Once again, not against it. Trent Brown, same thing. If you want just a 1-2 year stopgap at the left tackle spot, Trent Brown is the guy. Cool. That's fine with me. And Tyron Smith, I don't see him leaving the Cowboys. So that was tackles. Let's hit guards real quick, and then I'm going to end with centers. So Kevin Dotson, really good. Right guard. Robert Hunt, really good. Right guard. Will they move to left guard? I don't think so. I think they're gonna get a bag and be big time starters at right guard for somebody, if not return back to Miami and LA. Zeitler, too old for my liking. Dalton Reisner, I'm not against it. It's just I'm sick of these like mediocre offensive line. I want to build a legit offensive line. And I say that, but then I go down here. Damian Lewis is a left guard option. They're projected at $10.5 million per year. Played in the Seahawks, was really good last year. Took a little bit of a step back this year. He's only 27 when the year starts. That's cool. Lewis has made strides over the past few seasons, especially in pass protection after a tough start in his NFL career, holding up fairly well against bigger interior defenders, but struggled at times against the quicker, twitchier interior pass rushers. Former third-round pick, was a starter in 2019 National Championship team at LSU. At right guard and has starting experience in the NFL at both guard spots, although he appears to have found a home on the left side, which is pretty much what I was, expecting. Lewis is a mauler at 332 pounds, but moves well enough in the Seahawks rushing attack that primarily uses a zone rushes in addition to a healthy dose of gap concepts, which should expand his options in free agency. So with that being said, that's a lot. But looking at Washington's offense, I think Damian Lewis, once again, could be a really good guy at the left guard spot. Talk about gap concepts, talking about zone rushes and stuff like that with what Cliff Kingsbury is going to do. I think he's a good option at left guard. People are like, oh my God, Damian Lewis, this isn't sexy. Offensive linemen aren't sexy. They do the dirty work. Unless you get the Olu Fashanu, Joe Alt kind of guy, then it's like, oh, this is kind of sexy. But once again, left guard, him or Andrew Wiley, kind of figure it out. Just build up a foundation and then sort it out. Like, you have guys that can play different positions. You have Wiley, he can go right tackle or he can go guard. That's fine. You have Damian Lewis, who can play left guard, right guard if something happens to Cosme, God forbid. Same with Trent Brown. Same with Mike Onwenu. Like, you have guys that can play multiple spots, but I like that, like, players have their preferences. Like, oh, they have this certain spot that they want to be at. And like, he's more comfortable on the left side. Great. That's fine with me. Let him play the left side then. John Runyon, Jonah Jackson's a guy that's talked about a lot. When who was projected to come here before he backed out. We're not going to talk about it. But I can still see it. Especially when Hank Fraley was talking about, like, oh, he's going to come over here too. We started looking at Lions offensive linemen. Jonah Jackson, only 27 years old. Once again, not the sexiest, not the best, but he's a really good mover in space. Like, honestly, I think Jonah Jackson would be my Biggest target in free agency. Looking at guards, left guard wise, Jonah Jackson. If you started him next year, that's fine with me. Jackson is a force in space in the run game who climbs to second level well once he gets ahead of steam and adjusts laterally to plant his heavy hands into chested defenders with balanced feet. Great. Jackson has continued to struggle in pass protection, which is a bit surprising given his athletic ability. He can be slow out of his stance and or flat-footed at times, which causes him to lose early on in reps. That's something you can work on. And once again, he's 27. He's not that old yet. Cool. Let's sign him 3 years, 10.25 million per year. That's fine with me. Guard wise, though, that's pretty much as far back as I went. Yeah. But I would love Jonah Jackson, a left guard. So Jonah Jackson, left guard, maybe Damian Lewis. And then once again, obviously, I would love Kevin Dotson. I would love Robert Hunt, but they are probably going to want to stay as a right guard. Just being honest. Let's round it out at center because my must-sign player is in this group. And I'm going to tell you why. Is it Connor Williams? No. And I know I talked about Connor Williams before. Connor Williams was the number 1 center in the NFL before he got hurt. Tore his ACL in week 14. He's probably going to miss well over half the season, if not the entire next season. Not really sure what his recovery process looks like, but you pretty much can't expect him to come back until November, December, probably December next year. So, but I will say his projection has gone up. So maybe his recovery is going much better because it was 1 year, $6 million. It's crazy. I can remember all these numbers. It was 1 year, $6 million last time I did this video. Talking about free agents, and it's climbed up to 3 years, 7.5. So apparently, he is only 26.5. Apparently his recovery is going good and well ahead of schedule. So maybe, but once again, you really don't have a starting option to start the season at center. Not a good one, at least. Andre James was the 9th center last year. Projection 3 year, $9 million. I don't really see the Raiders letting him go. I will say there is somebody in salary cap casualty that cannot afford to really sign many players, and that is the Denver Broncos. Lloyd Cushenberry III. Come on over to Washington. This is one of my must-sign players. You're like, what? I know. The 57th overall PFF ranked free agent this season, Lloyd Cushenberry III, center for the Broncos. In my opinion, I think he fits what we are looking to do really well. You see at the bottom there, he may be served better in a gap-heavy rushing scheme, but any limitations as a run blocker in space are vastly outweighed by his pass blocking strength. Penalties could stand to come down a little bit. But that's just nitpicking and ascending young player who looks the part as a centerpiece of an offensive line for years to come. I like what I saw out of Lloyd. Once again, I think he would fit this team so well. And looking at the draft, I don't like a lot of the centers. There's only 3 centers I really feel good about. And like I said, I think Powers Johnson, I think JPJ goes in the first. I think he goes late first. Now that the Steelers released Mason Cole, I think Pittsburgh takes Jackson Powers Johnson in the first. And then I could see Zach Frazier going in the second. Like Cedric Von Prawn may be in the third, but I don't know if he's good enough to start. I do like him. I like him. But I would just much rather have a more experienced center. There's just something about having a rookie quarterback and a rookie center that really worries me. Really worries me. And probably a rookie left guard unless you put Wiley over there. So that's what I like. This is what I really hope happens. I hope Lloyd Cushenberry III, give him 4 years, 14.5. Up it a little bit, whatever. Starting center next year. Left guard, Andrew Wiley. Right guard, Sam Cosmi. And then once again, you either free agent on either side of the line or draft either side of the line. Left tackle, right tackle, whatever. I think drafting one with that first, second round pick, whoever's there, once again, Jordan Morgan, Patrick Paul, even like a Javon Foster in the third, something like that. I'm a really big Javon Foster fan. I love Javon Foster. Christian Jones out of Texas is a right tackle option. In like the 4th round, maybe 3rd, maybe the 3rd comp pick we got. Like I said, I can't wait to talk about these draft prospects because I have a good idea. That's fine. Like, I like that. But I think Lloyd Cushenberry, once again, is a must sign player this free agency. This is my guy. I'm a pound the table for him. I would love to have him here. Give me that experience at that center spot. Once again, if Connor Williams was healthy and he never tore his ACL, I would say give that man a blank paycheck because he was flawless last year. Flawless before he got hurt. He was the number 1 center by a mile. And he was only about 27 years old. Aaron Brewer is a good backup plan. He's one of these young ascending guys too. Had a really good season last year, much better. Undrafted guy, underdog mentality. Just a bruiser. Kind of took over. I forgot who their starting center was that they finally. I think he like retired once they released him. The Titans. I forgot who it was, but he had a lot of injuries. And then Brewer took over. 2022 played 1,000 snaps. 2023 played 1,000 snaps, and he had a good year last year. Finished 11th center overall. Once again, wasn't the best, like, in the NFL, but a good backup plan. But Lloyd Cushenberry III is my guy. I want it. Andre James. Honestly, I haven't watched a lot of Andre James. But I just feel like the Raiders are going to want to bring back some core pieces. But the Broncos have some money problems. They got some money problems. They're going to eat some money if they get rid of Russ. So Lloyd Cushenberry, I just don't see you getting a 58 mil, 60 mil total contract from the Broncos. So come on down. So that's my thoughts, yo. Do you cut Leno? Do you cut Wiley? Do you cut Gates? I can see the argument for Leno. I don't see the argument for Wiley. And Gates would just be whatever for me. I think Wiley at left guard makes sense. And then I think you have to figure out what you're going to do at left tackle and right tackle. But you sign a veteran center in Lloyd Cushenberry III. Get that experience. Let him work with whoever our quarterback is. Drake May. And you have to re-sign Cornelius Lucas. I think you have to re-sign Cornelius Lucas. And then swing on one of these tackles in free agency like I talked about, whether it's Jonah Williams, Onwenu, Trent Brown. Swing on one of those guys because you don't want to go into the draft with a big hole at both. And I think this is why they kind of wait on Charles Leno because it is more, it's more financially smart post 6-1. We're not going to just wait till June 1st. But, oh, yeah, by the way, Charles Leno, you're gone. That's not how we're going to do that. But still go into the draft with Charles Leno on your roster so you're not just freaking out once again like, oh, my gosh, we need a left tackle. We have to get one. But you at least have that in place. And then if you draft one, he looks good, whatever, boom, you can release Charles Leno post 6-1. I think that's how it works out. But once again, guys, I'll be talking about my best fits for the draft. I'll be talking about offensive line draft prospects soon. And like I said, I have my Bleacher Report stream coming up this Tuesday, whatever it is, February 27th. I don't even know what today is. Yeah, 27th, Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, live on the BR Report app. And then I said BR Report, Bleacher Report, or BR, whatever. And I'll upload it to the YouTube channel like I always do, guys. But Sunday, speaking of draft prospects, I'll be doing my first live mock draft on Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I think. Yes. Yeah, that works. I'm trying to think of my schedule. 7 o'clock Eastern Time, so hit that notification button and hit the subscribe and like button if this is your first time watching. I appreciate you coming by. My name's Josh Taylor, contributor for Bleacher Report, and this is the JTFB channel, and I'll see you next time. Peace.